Hello RPGamers and welcome to episode 3 of An Hour to Impress. This week we'll be taking a look at Oceanhorn, Monsters of the Uncharted Seas by the small Finnish developer Cornfox & Brothers.
I'm leaving tonight and I'm not coming back, kid. My fate is tied to a monster from the depths of time. Oceanhorn. I hear its horrible sound echoing from the sea. It is coming for me again. This is all happening sooner than I thought, and I am forced to act. Whatever happens next, I'm not going to lose you like I lost your mother. This necklace is the last thing left of her. Keep it close and guard it well. I will give you my old notebook from my travels. It will guide your way to an island of a friend. He will help you to prepare for what is coming. I know I'm asking too much of you, but this is the only way to stop Oceanhorn.
Wake up.
I don't normally like to start these videos with a lengthy clip like that, but this game's opening sequence kind of epitomizes all the things that I really like about this game. It's got an awesome graphical style, it's got great music, even the voice acting is pretty solid, and the basic setup for the plot seems like it's going to be really interesting. So Oceanhorn is pretty heavily inspired by the Legend of Zelda series, which should be clear just by looking at the interface. You've got your hearts representing your health in the top left corner of the screen. You get a sword and a shield shortly into the game, and as the game goes on, it looks like you're going to be able to acquire items and tools very similar to the Legend of Zelda series. The game definitely has a lot more in common with the classic 2D Zelda games as opposed to the more modern 3D ones, even though it is still a 3D game. It's got an isometric perspective rather than a top-down perspective, but the design of the enemies and their behaviors all mimic the way 2D Zelda games play. And of course the game is filled with puzzles. All I really saw during my first hour of play was a bunch of block puzzles, but they definitely do exist in more complex forms later on in the game. There is, for sure, I know there's bombs in the game, which can be used to solve puzzles, and I'm sure there's other tools and items later on in the game as well. Unfortunately, the first hour didn't really show me any of that. So Oceanhorn's opening sequences are pretty typical for a Zelda type of game. You go around exploring your little island, you search for your father's lost sword and shield, which you eventually find in this little dungeon, or a sort of miniature dungeon on the island. And you learn a little bit about the backstory of the world, which involves an ancient fallen civilization, some sea monsters, and a bunch of other stuff that's kind of interesting. You also get to fight a few simple monsters and get a basic understanding of how the combat system works. You also get your first taste of the game's challenge system, which is sort of like the game's answer to achievements. Each island you visit has 3 different challenges that you can complete, which offer you various rewards when you successfully do so. They vary pretty significantly from island to island, and they can be extremely easy or extremely difficult to achieve. After you finish up on the first island, you get to set out to sea, and this is where you can see the second big influence for Oceanhorn, and that's the Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. You can see that the ocean has a very similar style to Wind Waker. While it doesn't have the same sort of cel-shaded look, it has the same bright blue textures, the same open sky, little things floating in the water, ships passing by. It's a very similar style, and the influence is very obvious. of the biggest issues I have with the whole travel mechanic in this game is that it's really passive. In Wind Waker, you were able to control your boat yourself, sail around the world however you saw fit. But in Oceanhorn, you basically select a destination and the game takes you there automatically. I get the feeling that later on in the game you get a little bit more interaction in the travel, but at the moment, at least for the first hour, it was really unimpressive. In any case, once you get the ability to travel, you gain access to a lot of different islands, and you can find out about other islands by talking to the people. A lot of the charm of the game just comes from wandering around and exploring the game's world. There's all sorts of weird little things that you can discover. I even found a room with a sign that deliberately instructed me not to break any barrels, so I'm sure you can guess what I did. After wandering around for a bit, you'll eventually end up on a place called Bomb Island, and this is where the game starts to really pick up the pace and start to show what it's really capable of. A few more challenging enemies will start to appear. There's a little goblin guy with a sword. There's these sort of, I don't know what they are, like squids or something like that shoot things at you. And there's also this big guy here who's the closest thing to a boss that I actually encountered in the game. I also learned, quite by accident, that another effective way to deal with enemies is by throwing things at them. And there's not really a lot more to talk about. The rest of my playthrough here was spent exploring this cave and discovering that I really suck at block puzzles. It's unfortunate because I can't really come to any real conclusions about Oceanhorn at this point because I really haven't seen any of the major mechanics that I imagine are still coming. I haven't found any items to use yet. I haven't seen any real boss fights, and I imagine those are going to be the major crux of the gameplay and what's going to make it really interesting. That said, I'm pretty certain I'm going to be going back and playing the rest of this game because it does seem like it's going to be a lot of fun. It seems like it's going to be a very meaty experience based on the fact that I haven't really seen much yet after an hour of play, and I really do love this kind of style of video game. For those who are interested, Oceanhorn Monsters of the Uncharted Seas is available on Steam at a regular price of $16.99 Canadian. And as always, if you have any comments or suggestions, you can leave them below. Thanks for watching.